I'm Chris Osmond, and this is my take. Today I'd like to talk about common sense and complacency. One of these things seems to be lacking in the United States, and the other seems to be in too great of abundance in the United States for our country to move forward in any substantial manner. Some of the things that I feel we lack common sense as far as when we look at America are things like American security. I believe that Americans do not feel secure in this country, even though our government and the media keep telling you that they are making us more secure by blowing up other countries and bombing other countries and attacking other countries in various manners. Another item that I'd like to bring up is education. How secure can we feel when in most of the states that a lot of people live in these days, they seem to be cutting education. This does not seem to make for a secure future for our children. Another item on my list is the war on drugs. And I think there's a certain point where you just have to think about what's being said about the war on drugs. First off, it's a concept that doesn't seem to be attainable. We don't seem to be able to win this war. It seems like something that is an indefinite prospect. And it's a very hypocritical thing in light of the fact that alcohol is legal in this country, which, in my opinion, I think it should be legal. I don't have a problem with alcohol being legal. I just have a problem with them saying that alcohol is legal when drugs are illegal or uncontrolled substances are illegal. Another one is corporations. Do corporations actually help benefit the state of our union, or are they actually causing more harm than good? We'll go over those things and a few others. Some of the problems I have with corporations are, the fact that they store a lot of their money in other countries in order to get benefit from the tax loopholes that our government provides for them. A lot of them are pushing for deregulation, and we've seen what happens with deregulation, especially when you look at the banks. It brought down our entire economy in this country, and basically, was one of the first dominoes for the world economy to almost collapse. And we still haven't recovered, and there seems to be no real change out there on the horizon as far as our government is concerned. Is making regulation a greater part of the banks, or breaking those banks up. And then I guess the last topic I would cover would be politicians. Like I said earlier, it just doesn't seem that no matter who, or maybe I didn't, I've said it in previous videos, it doesn't seem to matter who we elect, whether they be Democrat or Republican. Neither side seems to be on our side. It just seems that whatever they do, whatever laws they enact, it always seems to come back and bite us in the butt, and we seem to always pay for our politicians' mistakes. Are these actual honest mistakes that our politicians are making, or is there something greater behind, the reason why no matter who gets elected, the people suffer? Let's start with American security. America to me seems to be becoming a police state. And it seems to me that they're pushing this police state in order to get us to agree to things that cause us to lose our liberty and our freedom. They seem to be pushing, the fact that, terrorists are going to come and get you. I mean, now you have the media actually, pushing out there how much Americans are now becoming terrorists. We have terrorist plots in this own country hatched by Americans. It's not only over there now. The war has come to America, and this war on terror seems to me to be one of those abstracts that just is not a winnable situation. We don't seem to be advancing anywhere on the war on terror. It seems to me that we kill one and another one pops up. Maybe our tactics on attacking these people are wrong. Maybe there's something inherently wrong with the way we're going about trying to eradicate terrorism. Or maybe terrorism itself is not as big a threat as they want us to believe. But if they say it long enough, everybody buys into it. And if they say that we're not secure in this country, everybody buys into the insecurities that are and our fears that well up because of, everybody in the media is saying it. When those people in the media, they, just like me, they probably have as little knowledge about what's really going on behind the scenes as I do. So we're all basically just a cog in the machine. But what I'm asking here is for people to actually stand up and be a little critical when they're thinking of things that they're told. Think about what they're hearing on the news on a daily, nightly basis, and then what they see in the world in which we live in. I mean, you know, our government says that we're under threat. We're under a threat because the terrorists are going to come here and kill us and blow us up and all this other stuff. But it seems to me that right now we're under an even greater threat, an economic threat. I don't feel secure in my future. I feel like things are falling down around me. Not only happening to me, but happening to people that I know. I know very few people that are actually doing well in this economy. Most of the people I know are a little concerned about what's going on in the economy, and they don't have any security. They don't have any hope for the future. And once hope is gone, that's when everything falls apart. Because everybody gets a little depressed now and then. You know, people have mechanisms to cope with depression. But once you lose hope, there is no coming back from that eventually. Once there is no hope, you just give in. People fold, they collapse. So anyway, as far as our American security is concerned, you know, I think it's a little ironic that whenever we go to war with, you know, somebody in the Middle East or wherever we're attacking these days especially, it always seems that they're people that we once called friends or allies at the very least. And these people are also people or countries that we armed, or that we at least helped arm. We basically helped and armed Osama bin Laden to fight the Russians, and now, you know, his organization is an enemy of the United States. What makes that shift? What makes that change? Why would people that we're helping eventually go around and say the United States is not their ally anymore? Why would they do that? I mean, it can't just be out of the clear blue that they start hating. I have no doubt that they do hate us and they want to see Americans dead. And of course I want to defend against that. I have no problem with defending against that. The problem that I have is that we created that hatred. But not the people of this country, but our leaders created that hatred. It did not pop out of thin blue, you know, the sky. It came from some deep-seated hatred that has festered and built up in these people. And then we look at other countries. Iran. We're getting ready to, you know, there's a possibility that we might go to war with Iran. We funded Iran. We gave them all kinds of money and all kinds of weapons. We funded them to fight Iraq. We funded Iraq. We made Saddam Hussein the dictator that he was. And then we attacked his country and we killed him, or had him killed. The same is going on in Iran, and the same is going on in Pakistan. We were Pakistan's ally, but for some reason they had this underlying mistrust of the United States. And for some reason they were helping out these terrorists. They were housing Osama bin Laden. Whether or not they knew about it, you know, that might be relevant and it might not be relevant. But the fact remains that he was found in Pakistan, and we killed him there. And we didn't trust the Pakistanis to help us. Now, you know, when you have a country that keeps going around and creating these power players, such as we do in the Middle East, and then you go out and you attack them, there's something wrong with your ideology as far as how you should go around with how your foreign policy should be enacted. We should not be going to these countries and arming them. Maybe America should just stay out of foreign policy for a little while and get our own home, our own house, our own country back in check. Maybe that would make Americans feel a little more secure. Like I said earlier, another issue that I have is with education. We've got so many GOP governors out there saying that, oh, education has to be cut. We have to cut education. We have to make everything, we have to shrink our budgets. We have to take away education from our kids. How does that increase the security in America? That makes America very insecure, in my opinion. I mean, you have a bunch of people that are going to grow up without an education. And what kind of jobs are these people expected to do other than menial tasks, manual labor, low-paying wages, which seem to continue to plummet around the world? Now, if you have an educated workforce, those people are going to be smart enough, and they're going to have enough, they'll be able to think critically enough to realize that it's not fair for them to do some of these higher end paying jobs and only get paid the wages of someone at minimum wage or barely above minimum wage. America is going into poverty. The number of the impoverished is increasing daily. There are a lot of people out there, as this documentary that's coming out shortly will show, there are a lot of people out there that were making good money and were living in the American dream, and all of a sudden they're impoverished. How does that happen in a country? How do you go from being well off to being poor in a matter of years? It didn't take such a short period of time for this country to attain this wealth. This country grew and expanded, the economy exploded, and then something changed. Maybe we should look at what changed. Maybe common sense would dictate that we look at the time period, like the downward slope of the economy, especially personal incomes around the world, around the country. I mean, when exactly did Americans stop making increases in their wages? I imagine it was around the same time that the elite, the few, the 1% that the Occupy movement is protesting, I imagine it's around the same time that those people started making more in wages and started growing exponentially in the income that they were making. Now, those people might not be any smarter than you or I. It might have just been a matter of opportunity, because I can't imagine the education that those people received to make millions of dollars. I mean, their education must have cost them millions of dollars. Or is it that they got the same education as the rest of us and they just had opportunities, or they had an inside that the rest of us don't have, that allowed them to increase their wages exponentially over the past 20, 30 years? I just don't see how diminishing our education system is really, a fruitful way of looking at the future. I don't think that, maybe that's why people don't have a positive outlook on the future of this country, because they're not given signs that there should be a positive outlook. If people are willing to cut education and willing to continue to allow rich people to pay less in taxes as opposed to pay more in taxes and help the education system, then why would they think that America hasn't seen its better days? Of course America hasn't seen its best days. Not when you have people doing that. Not when you have people diminishing the educational system in this country. There's no way that people could have a feel the promise of a new day when those are the circumstances. Next, I'd like to discuss the war on drugs. To me, this is an unwinnable war. I don't think that anybody can even provide statistics that show that the war on drugs is a beneficial war for America or anywhere in the country. As a matter of fact, I know that internationally they've come to the conclusion that a war on drugs is a useless pursuit, and only in America is it considered a wise idea to keep pushing for this war on drugs. The war on drugs, in my opinion, is a way to criminalize people, because you'll have people that use certain types of drugs and they will go to prison. That's it. Bottom line, they'll go to prison. And then you look at who's benefiting from these people being incarcerated. It's not the rest of society necessarily. Just because someone's smoking some weed or doing coke even or whatever, it's not really that beneficial to incarcerate these people, to put them in prisons, put them in cages, unless you're getting paid to do so. Unless you're also in one of those states where you can then take those people that you're getting paid to house in cages, and you're also getting paid to put those people to work. That is one built-in labor force that is growing in this country. And I say labor force, I don't call them prisoners. I mean, because, yeah, there are some prisoners, some convicts that definitely should not be released in society, murderers, things of that nature, rapists, whatever. But the majority of the people are in there for non-violent drug offenses. Now, I think the number is 60%. I think that's the latest figure that we have out there. Now, what is the benefit of putting these people away if they're non-violent offenders? Wouldn't that money be better served if it were put towards rehabilitation or educational systems that will be put in place to help people realize the downfall of drugs? And if, you know, drugs are such a bad thing, why is it that we have so many pharmaceutical companies that are benefit from selling drugs? Why is it that legal drugs are on the rise as far as drugs that people are taking? You know, you have the pill mills, and Florida is one of the biggest states hit by the pill mills. I mean, they're going around and busting these things now, but for years, Florida was the place to come to get legal drugs, so you could take them back home to your state, because it was harder to get those drugs in those states. So how is it that those drugs are so legal when people are abusing those and getting harmed and you know, hurting themselves and ruining their lives, but those are legal? You know, of course, the pharmaceutical companies have lobbyists that go out there and they push for these things to be made legal. And they try to get deregulation on the FDA and all these other organizations that are supposed to be looking out for the betterment of mankind. Why is something like that legal and something like cocaine illegal? To me, they both harm people's lives. They both do a great deal of harm to people's lives. I mean, there are some good pharmaceutical drugs out there. I have no doubt of this. But then you look at so many of them out there, they have such bad side effects. And then in the end, they always end up, you see so many where it's like, if you were taking, you know, Propaxil or whatever, any of these drugs, you're entitled to, you know, join into this class action lawsuit because they find that it causes cancer or it does some other damage to your liver or it does hurt you in some way. But those drugs are illegal. And then one of the biggest hypocritical things that I think that we have in society, at least here in Florida, is the fact that it's legal for you to go to a gas station, buy a single can of beer right at the register that is ice cold. What is the purpose of that, and how is that legal? I don't understand that, because what do they think people are driving up in cars to get an ice cold single can of beer doing once they get in that car? You know, you don't need to refrigerate the beer in the stores. They can go get the hot one and take it home and refrigerate it and drink it at home, since it's illegal to drink and drive. That just seems like hypocrisy to me. Why is that so in this country?